New Landings Job Chat is brought to you in part by the Prosperity Advisory Group, the next step in your financial future, and by the EBS Group with an unparalleled background in Oracle solutions and services.
You want to lead others, but first you have to get real with yourself. How do you do that? You're going to find out on today's Job Chat. Your hosts are HECTOR SILVA and Sarah CAIN, and our guest today is Harry Campbell.
Harry Campbell is a senior executive with a strong track record of success over 26 plus years. Campbell has been president for 2 Fortune 500 companies, co-owner of an award-winning small business, CEO and board member of an internet startup, and founding member of the industry-changing Wal-Mart P&G Customer Team in Northwest Arkansas. He has driven exceptional people and business results in organizations of 5 to 3,500 employees in a broad range of industries from consumer packaged goods to telecom to sports marketing to digital media. He is known as an identifier, developer, and motivator of exceptional talent at all levels of the organization. Welcome, Harry.
Wow. Welcome, Harry.
Thank you.
In your book, Get Real Leadership, that's what you talk about, leadership. What is Get Real Leadership, and what can we do to get it?
Probably the simplest thing I would start with is that what it's not. And I've been associated with great leaders, mentors, and influencers, but also the opposite. People that I would say took themselves too seriously, didn't operate in a way that was effective, didn't really understand the impact on relationships, results, and in fact respect that they could get by getting real and treating people and themselves in a way that was more productive.
Harry, right out of college, you had the opportunity to work for a great leader. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I think you're probably referring to Sam Walton. I worked for P&G for 7 years, and in that 7 years, I was offered the opportunity to move to Northwest Arkansas and be one of the founding members of a very cool experience, which was the Wal-Mart Procter & Gamble Customer Team. By the way, as an aside, we just had the 25th anniversary of that team, and I went down to Arkansas to celebrate it. There are now, I believe, 900 customer teams in Northwest Arkansas now. We were the first, and it was very cool to be down there. I was 4 years out of school, but I got a chance to be around Sam Walton, see him operate, ask him questions, and interact with him. And the thing that struck me, Sarah, is that he was wildly successful, he was driven, and he was competitive, but he was perhaps the nicest person I'd ever seen or met. And that combination really had an impact on me at that point in my career.
And I think you've said, or I've heard you say, that he really believed in service leadership.
He did. First time I'd heard the term servant leadership in the context of the business world. Being from Procter & Gamble, which was a company that was over 150 years old and more hierarchical, I came and watched the Wal-Mart org operate. And Sam believed that the leaders of the org at Wal-Mart, their job was to make the job of the people that work for them easier. And so they really inverted the triangle and said, okay, you're a leader. How can you help the folks that are working for you get their job done easier, develop, grow, and drive better results? Simply put, if you, in the normal context of business at the time that I was operating, your job as an employee was to try to figure out how to make your boss's job easier, to look good and make your boss look good. And I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way. That's just fact. Walmart being inverted was wild because it makes you think more clearly about how you lead people and how you're going to drive relationship results and respect all together. I thought it was a fascinating concept.
Wasn't there a story about the way he used to walk around with a pen?
Oh, yeah. He did. He walked around with a pen at headquarters and said, "How can I? What can I sign for you? How can I make your job easier? What can I do for you to help you get your job done?" And that little things. First time I'd ever heard of MBWA, which is management by walking around, was from him. I was, as I said, I was sitting in a meeting and he was talking about that and about how important it is in order to keep the kind of openness, communication, results environment, but also relationships going by walking around. And oftentimes he would carry a pen because he didn't want the bureaucracy at headquarters to slow down the results in the stores.
When you talk about get real leadership, it seems to me like you're saying that some of us don't take ourselves seriously or have a different opinion of who we are and we need to get real. Is that where you're headed, or is it someplace else?
I'd say that's reasonable. I think my answer is almost beside that, and it has to do with understanding yourself, understanding the impact you can have, understanding your business, and how the influence you're going to have on people, and how that works into one very effective whole in order to be in order to win. I've run into too many people that I think overthought this. They said, "Wow, how am I now have been promoted and I'm in charge of 50 to 5,000 people. Doesn't matter." They change who they are. They change how they operate. They change fundamentally their relationships with their folks because for some reason they think being in charge, the org chart, is more important than the results and the relationships. And I completely disagree with that. I actually define leadership when I'm speaking about this, and I fly around the country and talk about Get Real Leadership with the book as my foundation. I define leadership not with regard to org charts and people. I define it very simply. It's influence and impact. End of story. You can be a bagger at Hen House, like one of my son's friends, and you can be a leader because you can lead people that are beside you, peers of yours. You can lead people that are below you. You can lead people that are above you. It really comes down to your influence and impact. And if you define leadership that way, it's very cool because it sets you free and gives you the opportunity to, I think, enjoy your job better and get better results.
So is there some method or some exercise that we can use to try to find out where we stand?
There sure is. Actually, let me start with a story. I showed up at Procter & Gamble, 23 years old, right out of school, and I realized very quickly that of all the things at Procter & Gamble at their core, brands are what matter. And I learned that lesson real quickly when a peer of mine who was working on scope recommended that they use some of their excess product and sell it to private label because it would be very profitable. And the senior execs at P&G said, "Never again will you talk to us about that. We don't make mouthwash. We make scope." Those are very, very interesting words to hear. And I realize if you're out interviewing for a job or you're hoping to be promoted, you need to understand that they're not looking at a group of people. They're not looking at an average. They're looking at you. And if you treat yourself that way, it's very important that you can then understand that. And I believe everybody, I say this in the book, everybody has 7 words that describe them. For better or for worse, it's what it is. And understanding those 7 words of what you think they are and what the world thinks is critical. The gap between what you think they are and what the world thinks is perhaps more important than the actual words, because it comes back to self-reflection.
So how do you get the 7 words, Harry?
Well, one thing you need to do is you need to make sure it's anonymous. I love saying this. If you ask openly your friends or family members what your 7 words are, please tell me my 7. What they're going to do is they're going to pat you on the head. They're going to tell you you're smart, you got a great smile, you're a hard worker, and you're going to go away and you're going to go,
say, "Thank you, Mommy," and you walk away.
Yes, that's not going to be as productive as it needs to be. I say you got to find it anonymously. One of the things I've done on my website, which is harryscampbell.com, is I have a link. It's all free. I don't get any money from this, but there's a link called My 7 Words. You can hit on that, and there's a tool that enables you to put email addresses in, have an email go to people that know you, have it come back to the website, and the words will come to you but not be identified by any specific person. So if you send it to 5 people, you'll have 35 words, and you can then sort through them. You can figure out which ones are common, which ones are thematic, and you can come up with what the world thinks your 7 are. And it's a fascinating exercise. I would be careful the first time because it's important to do. I think it actually is critical for self-awareness, but it's disconcerting the first time you do it.
Also,
well, because well, first of all, the reason I chose 7, this was a randomly Harry Campbell made-up term 12 years ago. Okay, personal brand. I started talking about it. I wish I had trademarked the term. There might be 1,000 books about personal branding now. I talked about this long ago because I felt like I had a unique brand. I said, okay, this matters to me. I chose 7 because 7 is hard. If you ask somebody to give you 3 or 4, it's actually not easy, but it's much easier. It's the 5th, 6th, and 7th ones that are hard. And those are the ones that people have to kind of dig deep and think, what do I think of Hector or Sarah? Who are they? How are they? How do they operate? What are the words? So what I say is the reason it's disconcerting is when you go out and get those 7 and the words come back anonymously and you get good, rich feedback from people that know you best, you're going to like 5 of them. You're going to disagree with 1. That's the funny one. And you're going to dislike 1. Whether you disagree with it or not, I'm not sure. And the one that you disagree with is interesting because the reason you do it anonymously is then if the world tells you that you are too full of yourself and you're thinking, wait a minute, I need to find the person that said that because that's not me, that's not me. I got to find them, I got to find them. And you want to explain to them that they're wrong. Well, the fact is they anonymously thought about it, had the question, and sent this word in. It may not be a majority of people, but someone thought that. And so it needs to make you stop and think. And it's very disconcerting to get those words that you either don't like or don't agree with.
New Landings Job Chat will be back right after a word from our sponsors.
Hello, my name is William Easley, Managing Director of Wealth Management with Prosperity Advisory Group. While under unemployment stress, there may be a temptation to become more conservative with your investment allocation. Recognizing how short-term problems can adversely influence your thinking about long-term goals can help you avoid costly mistakes. It's reasonable to expect that you may need cash and more liquid assets at your disposal as you assess your financial situation over a job loss. However, you must avoid selling long-term investments as a panic response to uncertainty. You may trigger an unwanted tax or generate an ill-timed loss. Conversely, being unemployed isn't the time to take a flyer on a hot stock tip, ratcheting up your risk level in hopes of a quick profit to make up for lost income. You may do nothing more than compound your cash flow problem. A reasoned and balanced approach is recommended. Start by seeking out a qualified financial planner, such as a CFP professional, who can help you assess your unemployment situation, suggest strategies for conserving wealth, and perhaps help you with ideas on how to best protect assets. It's important to sort out alternatives while structuring a plan around your short-term objectives and your long-term goals. Again, I'm William Easley with Prosperity Advisory Group, the next step in your financial future.
So Harry, could you share your 7 words?
I'd rather not. They're not good. No, I'm kidding.
It's your brand.
Yes, I know. It is my brand. I like to say that I've done this 7 or 8 times. I've tweaked it. And there's about 11 words that come back to describe me, and the only 7 that I'm willing to go public with are the ones that are actually in the book also. Let me see if I can go around. I have a really cool slide that I do in my presentations with pictures that help me remember the words. One of them that always comes back for me is positive. I have a very positive outlook on life, and that comes from my passion for living. I also am an optimist. Not quite the same thing, but I'm an optimist. By the way, if you're a Cubs fan, you have to be an optimist. We've had a bad century, but I'm sure we're coming back. So I'm an optimist.
There are plenty of centuries left.
Yes, yes. I'm team-oriented, very team-oriented. Whenever I take Myers-Briggs, Hogan tests, or anything like that, I have a lot of things that score high. Of course, they are things like power and learning. They're always going to be high for someone that operates in the jobs I've been in. But affiliation is always my highest. I want to be affiliated with A-plus players. I want to know them. I want to know their families. I want to be affiliated with them. So teaming always comes back for me. It's interesting. So I talked about positive, optimistic, and team-oriented. I'm curious. I'm a serial learner. I'm a liberal arts major. I'm an East Asian history and economics double major. My dad taught theology, my mom taught Latin. I have liberal arts surrounded. And curiosity, why? We go out to a restaurant, I'm trying to figure out why they have their cook to waitress to hostess ratio the way they are, and my family just says, for goodness sakes, we're not trying to buy the restaurant. Let's just eat. So I'm curious, I'm very curious. Why? I am mischievous. I operate the way I do in this room. I use humor. I operate this way with the board of directors of Embark and with the janitors at the building. I know the names. I interact with people. I use humor to relieve tension. I use humor in good ways and bad ways. I am very mischievous, and I love being that way because it's me. And I don't change that no matter who I'm around, which is interesting. And the final one is I'm tenacious. I am a competitor. I hate to lose. I have to really wrestle with the idea of competing appropriately and making sure that I'm okay when I win and okay when I lose, because I grew up competing in everything I did, whether it was one other person in my driveway or in athletics in high school. I just love to compete and win, and I'm tenacious. I'm not particularly talented at any sport. That's an overstatement. But I can hang in there with almost anybody in almost any sport because I hate to lose. Did I say that? I hate to lose.
So when you look at these, you're saying positive, optimistic, team-oriented, curious, mischievous, tenacious.
Ooh, I forgot one.
Which is say
impatient. That was the one
I was going to say, there's probably one that you didn't like, and that's why you don't remember.
Yeah, I forgot that one. Impatient. I avoided this one the first few times that I asked people for it. I tried to call myself driven, and I think my wife finally said, okay, now that 9 out of 10 people that give you this feedback use the word impatient, maybe you should include it. I said, okay. I am crazy impatient. I multitask to the detriment of my meetings sometimes. I can't stand to wait. I consider 3 people a line, and I don't wait in lines. And this, it just gets me fidgety, and that's one of those things that I would prefer not to be a part of me, but I've had to come to grips with the fact that it is, and it's not getting any better.
So Harry, once you have your 7 words, even the one you don't like, maybe so much, it comes time to share your brand with others. Mm-hmm. So what's the best way to do that?
The way I did it was simple, and this comes from more of a corporate, large group organization. I think it can vary in the scenario and situation you're in. I decided I was going to put together a slide, and I was going to have pictures so people could get the words and they would remember it. And every time I got a new job, I would put that up and I would share it with people. Anybody that's been in the organization that I joined will remember these words, and I run into people that I haven't seen in 12 or 14 years, and they remember at least 2 of the words on that sheet. And so what I like to do, I like to say is that in any organization, and even any relationship, even friends, that there's a getting to know you process that happens. My theory is in the corporate world, the best way to win in the long run is to truncate that process, and one of the best ways to do it is have the boss say, here's me. You're going to try to figure out the boss anyway, the new boss. The joke I like to say is, if the boss hates green M&Ms, you'd rather have the boss on day 1 tell you, don't ever bring a green M&M to my office. And if they don't, you're going to figure it out, because in the first week or 2, someone's going to come in with green M&Ms, and it isn't going to be pretty. So I do that same thing, and it's why I need to talk about the idea that I'm impatient. I hate meetings. I want productivity, I want decisions, I want to get moving. That's not good sometimes when you need to have an hour or 2 meeting on an important decision or strategy. They need to know this. And so what I do is I truncate the process of the organization learning me. Still has to happen so that we can move forward as quick as we can. And so that's how I'd say sharing it can be very, very important.
These 7 words, or just knowing your brand, all that being part of Get Real Leadership, How does that help someone who's out there looking for a job?
I'm going to give you two different answers for that. I'm going to give you the personal one. To me, it can only be good when you're looking for a job or you're meeting people that are interviewing you, where on the human side of it, if you know yourself better and know your, not to say know your strengths and weaknesses falls short of what I mean. You really have a self-awareness of what you like to do, how you like to do it, how you operate. And you have all these antennae going off when you're in a meeting and you walk into the building and you're evaluating the culture and the facilities and the people. You're doing this in your head. And if you have a better understanding of you and what you think you can do and contribute and how you can thrive, I think that's much better. Now, it may make you deselect something that you really try to convince yourself you should do. But if all your antenna is that way and you're more self-aware, I think you can get to a better decision. On the other side, when you have a job or when you're in an organization, you're trying to either influence or direct people. Influence is harder, so you're in charge, but they don't directly work for you. Understanding you and your strengths can make a big difference, and having the org, because I think then you get some forgiveness on the pieces that aren't so good. I'm impatient, I multitask on people. It's a bit rude when I do it, but if people know it, they know I know it, you get at least a little bit of a pass. And I think what happens is when in those instances, the productivity can happen more and the open awareness, because at the end of the day, we all have our shortcomings, and we all have our things that we would love to work on. Sharing with people what those are makes them more willing to share with you what their shortcomings are, and I think you get by it and you move outside of the dance that can happen.
Mm-hmm. And when you're in a job interview, you want to be as real as you can, and you want to be yourself, because that's who they're going to hire.
Yes.
And if you're not being yourself and they hire you, then they're hiring the wrong person.
Amen. And then at that point, then you have to figure out whether you're going to change to match what they think they hired, whether you want to change, or whether you're going to say, okay, well, this is what they hired, but this is me. We'll see how it works out. I'm not sure that's a good idea.
Well, Harry, we want to thank you for getting real with us today.
You're welcome.
And you have your book there.
I do.
Get Real Leadership. And if somebody wanted to get a copy of the book, or if they wanted just to contact you or get some information about what you speak about, where could they reach you?
Two things. First of all, my website, harryscampbell.com. How about that? Pretty simple. harryscampbell.com has all this information, including a link to buy the book. The book is available on Amazon. It's $10. 100% of the royalties from the book go to charity. And any gross speaking fees that I get as a result of the book go to charity. So I'm having fun doing it and spreading the word on leadership.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Harry.
You're welcome.
You can hear more advice and information from Harry and a number of other guests by going to our website at www.newlandingsjobchat.org, or just search for Job Chat on YouTube.
And until next time, may your days be full of health, happiness, and success.